All right, so this is sort of the first sort of demonstration of the small box 3 hooked up. Let's see what we got, basically. It's a preliminary sort of figuring it out on the fly, what we need to do, what we need to change, get a baseline, all that kind of stuff. So I think so far, we're getting some of the things that we wanted out of the pedal board, right? We've got kind of like that really good kind of, Eddie sort of Marshall kind of really bright, grabby kind of sound, the whole, like. So it's got a lot of that going on. Definitely the flanger and the phaser are, working out pretty cool, So I'm digging that. The echo, I'm still not happy with the echo. There's a problem, I think, with the echo plexus, with these pedals. Well, really two problems. The first of which I think is that to get a subtle enough slap back, the thing almost has to be off, right? And if you put any kind of a boost pedal in front of this thing, that secondary slap back becomes so prevalent that really it sounds like, you're basically the edge, So that's okay, but I've basically got it almost off. Now, if you were to put a boost pedal in front of that, let's say like an EP3 or something like that, the first and second, the wet and the dry, the slapback and the original signal, it'd be almost impossible to not make them equal. So that was a big problem I was having with those, and I think I might have a solution for that, which we're going to try to build as well. That plays in directly, this whole echoplex problem, into the gain situation, right? Because I want to boost the front end of the gain, the front end rather, with something like an echoplex, an FET sort of a clean boost like an echoplex would provide. But being that, it doesn't play well with this pedal, and if you put it afterwards, it doesn't play well either, that the gain on the amp isn't quite where I want it. I think it's got the right structure. It's just like 10% below where I want it to be with the pedal fire, with the small box 3. So with the boost in front, I think we're going to be right on the ballpark. So we're going to have to do something there. The second MXR studio compressor, I have it. When I put it in line, it really didn't behave very well like the two rack units would. I mean, a lot of you guys out there have been kind of shooting me emails and texts back and forth, especially, them fuzzies, Mr. Beastie, which I appreciate a lot. We have a lot of fun talking. Was pretty much suspecting that would be the case. I suspected it too, but I'm one of those people that has to kind of stick my finger in the socket to figure out if I'm going to get shocked. So I went ahead and did it anyway. And there may be a place for it. I'm not eliminating entirely, but right now I think the compressor works better as a single unit. We got it set at 20 dB down. All right, the next issue that we had, which we changed a little bit of this board, I mean, obviously it looks a little different than it did before, right? Was that this, the Omni IR pedal, I don't want to slag on any of these guys because these things are really awesome, the Two Notes and the Omni, especially for considering the price point and the size, right? That they're small. They're not like the Ox, which is, a very big unit. But they have this inherent coloration to them, which is very difficult to get away from. And it's kind of a lower mid sort of peak in there, and it tends to make the have this nasally kind of overtone to everything. So to get rid of that, I kind of brought in an EQ pedal. right? So I got this MXR 10 band that I think is working pretty well. But I'll show you the difference between the two, and you can see what I'm talking about. There's just this nasally overtone. So I'll give like just with it on. Now I'll turn off the EQ and you'll see. Well, apart from the volume drop too. All right, so I think the MXR is staying on the board there. I think it adds a little bit more of the bite and kind of helps mask a little bit of that nasaliness. Now, the IR response, I'm still working on that too. It's a combination now of three things. It's a Celestion, the Celestion Fat Impulse from the Celestion package you can download from Celestion.com. It's that speaker, and then the JBL from Redwires mixed in, and then about 20% of what would be considered a bypassed signal. And all of that was sort of smushed together in MixIR from, I think it was from, what, Redwires? Yeah, they have a software program that allows you to combine IRs, kind of like the Two Notes does, but it allows you to export the files into a WAV file, whereas the Two Notes, it requires you to export in a TUR file, which is proprietary to the Two Notes, so you can't use it in the hot tone or any other thing. So the Redwires one allows you to export it in WAV, so you can use it with anything. So I built the IR so far in the Redwires IR sort of messer up, or whatever you want to call it. So that's working pretty good. We're still going to mess around with that a little bit. I like the Lexicon. I think it's really cool. It has, that big room with, that's kind of bright. I'll turn it off and you can hear. Let me turn off the echo too. So that's just our dry tone, right, with the EQ, and that's about it. So yeah, I've got it obviously panned to one side from our little splitter pedal, rather our exit interface, which has the left and right levels. And that interface basically allows, what it does is it splits the signal. So when I'm coming out of this studio compressor, it skips over the hardwire, goes directly into this interface right there where it's split into two. One goes through, like we were talking about in the earlier videos, a transformer, so I can flip the phase around if I need to, and then is on the output left, which is controlled by level L, level left. The other split from the studio compressor goes into the input of the Lexicon, the Digitech reverb unit, the output of which goes into the return of the box. As you can see, there's a send and return there. And then I can mix that in with the dry signal on the right side. Now, the output of this board is just feeding my Mackie mixer as usual, so there's no speaker cabinet involved or nothing like that. And what you're hearing, if you're wearing headphones or playing it through a computer, is exactly what I'm hearing here through my headphones, which are, attached to the Mackie mixer. And all of that feeds the camera. So this is really what it would sound like in your place too. That's what would happen if Eddie was one of the spiders from Mars. All right. So I think what we're going to do, like we were talking about just before, is we need to boost. We're evaluating the pedal, and we're going to move from there. Again, I've got some ideas coming in from all over the place, and I really respect all that stuff. But the first thing I want to do is I want to boost the front end of this amp and use the Echoplex. So what I'm going to do is, and the idea came from a buddy of mine. All right. I'm not copying his circuit because I don't know what it is. I'm ashamed to ask him, although I will ask him afterwards and see if we came up with the same thing. But my buddy Bill Webb, who's an amplifier guru extraordinary, EJ's tech, built something for EJ for him to use his Echoplex pedal, which was some sort of a device, some sort of a thing that surrounded the Echoplex pedal, which allowed the pedal to act as like the boost too. So it was like a clever way of combining the EP3 boost with the Echoplex pedal in such a way that it didn't mess up the slapback in terms of changing the, the wet to dry mix, and allowed, a faint echo along with a big boost. That's kind of what I think it was. It was described in a rig rundown with EJ, and he was talking about what Bill was doing for him. So I've got Bill. I'm going to call Bill. I'm going to ask him about it once I'm done building this thing. So if we came up with the same thing, it'll be kind of funny. But what I'm going to do is in this box, I'm going to rehouse a circuit. And basically what I think it's going to be a parallel loop in here to run the Echoplex pedal in, but with an exit buffer that recombines the dry signal at a very high level, which I think, will obviously change the relationship between dry and wet, and I'll be able to turn up, the level on the slapback a little bit higher, but more importantly, I'll be able to blast the front of this, the pedal fire without disturbing, sort of making it impossible to get a subtle slapback. Now, the other thing I want to do after that, and actually we're going to do a video. I think I'm going to do a video building this thing, the Echoplex sort of like surrogate. And it'll all be in one box. The other thing I want to do is, them Fuzzies was commenting, and Mr. Fuzzy, Mr. Beastie was talking about the, a post echo, right? So that there was, a dry after the amps in the control room, added by Ted Templeman. There would be a dry signal, then the chamber reverb, and a some sort of a delay as well. So the Echoplex was in there, would have been in front of Eddie's stuff for doing, like the whole, so because I thought that syncopated sort of thing was, part of his riff. So I figured he had to have that and wrote it with that in there. So that would be there. But then there was another echo that was done in post. So I think we're going to put an echo somewhere after or before the hardwire, probably just before going into this, this mix box. But if that doesn't work out, we're going to gut the mix box and we're going to put in a 3-channel powered mixer in there. We're going to build something with some, like TLO72 ICs or something like that with pan left and right and 3 entry points. And then we'll split the signal 3 ways as it comes out of the studio compressor, since there's a lot of available gain left. I mean, that output is down low. And I can also boost that input with this 10-band NQ. And being that the MXR can take like plus 20 dB gain, we got plenty of signal to throw around. So we may throw it in three directions: one dry, one echo, and then that echo going into the reverb, and then back into echo and reverb, so that we can mix the dry, the echo, and the echo reverb. So that should be pretty cool. So I think that's good for right now where we're sitting, and we'll start, probably this weekend, putting together this Echoplex surrogate, sort of like rehousing monstrosity, custom purposed for this project, and we'll keep you in the loop on that and show you how we're doing it. So for now, much appreciated, and we'll see you again very shortly.